Hey, all right, very good. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Annabelle Pacheco and host of this multifamily investing call. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we really talk about just how they built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. And just, you know what, I just want to make sure really my goal on this call is to get to interview these individuals who are crushing it, right? And have them share the ins and outs of what they're currently doing, and hopes that, you know what, it's going to make a difference in your life as well. And I know a lot of multifamily investors right now are creating massive success in their business and life. And today, my guest speaker is a good friend, longtime friend, just from being in real estate. We both attended and have attended the same real estate coaching company. And we met, I want to say, at least 13, 14 years ago. And right. And I have seen just how the growth that Sam has done in multifamily, and just, you know what, the perfect person to have here today to share just kind of what he's doing and talk a little bit about multifamily with us. And if you're currently looking to get into multifamily, or you're even involved and looking to maybe expand and grow, you know, this is a great group. So Sam, welcome to the call, and give us a little bit about your background before you get into the juicy part.
Well, Annabelle, thanks so much for having me on. We just got to have a great time in Vegas at that training last week, and lots of fun dinners and conversations about the crazy market we're in. But as a little bit of background, I own the Multifamily Investment Club, which is a syndication company. We have about 1,700 doors across the country. We're in Cleveland, we're in San Antonio, Dallas, El Paso, Albuquerque and Tampa, and just a couple small properties here in Utah. And actually, that was our latest purchase. But I've been in real estate and really started, I believe, right when we met, Annabelle. I started flipping homes in 2010. Went from that to selling homes to flipping duplexes, and then building duplexes and fourplexes with some partners in Houston, in Salt Lake, and in Boise. I'm located in Salt Lake City. And when we were building these fourplex communities and our investors were doing very well, I was thinking, why don't we retain these properties? And my partners were just not interested. They did not want to hold on to rentals. They wanted to build them and profit from them. But I saw how much money our investors were making. And I thought, I can run these better than my investors can. I have heart surgeons. I have top producing realtors like yourself as clients. And they're so busy doing what they do at a high level as far as their day jobs. A lot of the times they didn't make as much, or they didn't rent them for as much, or operate them as well as they could. And they were leaving money on the table. And I love investments, and I decided to start my syndication company in 2018. And since then, we've done very well. We've never lost money, knock on wood. We have averaged very, very high returns. And actually next week, I don't remember if you're in this one, Annabelle, but the deal in Albuquerque is closing, and we will average a 20% per year return for our investors. So that's a combination of cash flow and appreciation. So cumulative return 20% per year, as long as we've held that asset. And when we bought it, man, we were hoping for 12 to 15%. And
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
we've done very well. And what I wanted to start with, and I'm happy to answer questions, but I wanted to start with is, when you buy a property, you must have multiple exit strategies, and you really have to plan for a worst case scenario. And so what I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on in the market currently, what I'm seeing and what you guys are seeing. And what I'm seeing is foreclosures, not on residential. I don't know about your market, Annabelle, but my residential market's doing great.
Yeah, it's still doing well out here.
I think I don't know what your average days on market is, but my average days on market is right around 30.
Mhm.
That's not a normal market. That's a hot market. Not as hot as a year ago, 2 years ago before rates went up, but that's still pretty darn good. Back when I got in it in 2010, homes were sitting for 3, 4, 5, 6 months without selling. So still a very good market, but multifamily is different. And the best way I can describe it is people were gambling.
Mhm.
And yeah, and you know this, Annabelle, I have a podcast called Recession Proof Real Estate Investing. And I haven't put out a new episode in a while. Shame on me. I need to do that. I've actually interviewed some great guests recently. Need to do that. But I've been watching the market and kind of waiting to see what people did, and then I wanted to interview them because I know what I'm seeing is the same across the board for everyone. There are people, small operators and large operators, losing deals to the bank because they really just gambled with their investors' money or with their own money, and thought, you know what, this deal doesn't have a whole lot of wiggle room, but if the market does continue as good as it's been, I'm going to make a lot of money, so let's buy it. And I was simply not willing to do that. And that's been my mantra since day one is, what if the market drops again? And what if it drops as bad as it did in 2008? Can we still save a deal, or can we still be profitable? Not even save a deal. I always want to be profitable. And I think that's the biggest problem we have right now, is so many people got greedy and saw dollar signs and ignored what we learned in 2008. They ignored the not getting bad loans and not getting high risk loans. They ignored fudging the numbers and banking on the market doing fantastic and not changing. And you're in a few of our deals, Annabelle. Every time we buy a deal, we say, okay, that's great. Best case scenario, we make 20% per year. That's awesome. What about the worst case scenario? What if vacancy, like in 2008, jumps to 10% plus? Can we still pay the bills and survive that type of an environment until the market changes again? And we call that a recession test. We recession test our deals. And so I think that's the biggest thing I'm seeing right now that's really scary for a lot of investors, is they didn't recession test their deals, and all of a sudden their income came down, or their variable rate loans went up, and they can no longer pay their mortgages. They can no longer pay the bills. And I'm looking at, actually, I just Googled it for fun right before the meeting started. I just said foreclosures, multifamily news. And I already knew about this one. Some guy just lost a 3,200 unit portfolio worth $229 million in Houston.
Oh,
Very
wow.
experienced syndicator. He's been doing this quite a while. I know people who have invested with him. They lost
let's
all their
stop
money.
there. So
Go
let's
ahead.
stop there, because this is a lot of info. Let's
Sorry,
stop.
I
No,
just
no,
spewed a
no.
lot of info.
But it's great. No, this is really good, right? So how does someone who's so experienced, right, lose a building?
Read.
Okay.
It's very simple. So I got pitched a deal. I want to say it was around January of last year, so before rates went up. And it was in Atlanta. I've been wanting to get in the Atlanta market for a while. It looked really good, but the market had to basically continue on fire and with large rental increases for our investors to make money. And the only loan that was offered that we could really get, because and the reason why it was in bad shape. So when a property is in bad shape, the banks only want to give you a variable rate loan, which is a bridge loan for 2 to 3 years. Then you're forced to refi. And I said, that's too high risk. There's not enough wiggle room in the rents and the numbers. If the market changes at all, or if we don't get the rent bumps we think we're going to get, or if rates go up, we have a variable rate loan that we will not be able to cover. And we passed on that deal. And the guy actually stopped talking to me. He stopped bringing me deals. He got very frustrated with me, said I'm being too conservative, and we would have lost that deal. And so if you fast forward to this other deal that we did do, it was a variable rate loan on 180 doors in Cleveland. There was enough wiggle room that in case rates did go up, we could still refi and be okay. And we're actually closing on that refi next week. And rates did go up. And our debt service, and this is the answer to your question, Annabelle, our debt service or our mortgage payment went from $35,000 a month to over $90,000 a month within just a few months.
Wow.
So, and my investors are going to get an email from me a little bit later today talking about the refi and a few other things. And so had we not banked a lot of money, so a lot of, our contingency fund is what we called it. And had we not had a lot of wiggle room in that deal, we would have also lost it to the bank. So thank goodness we passed on deals that didn't have enough wiggle room and only bought deals with enough wiggle room. And that's why I say it's greed, because they wanted to buy that deal. Those operators really wanted to do that deal. They wanted the numbers to look good. So they fudged the numbers, and then they lost those deals to the bank, and they lost all of their investors' capital.
I would die. I'm glad I'm not part of that deal.
Me too.
So let me ask you, for someone that's looking to invest for their first time, should they start with 2-4 units, or do you think they should invest in a group with, an experienced? I always say on my calls, you guys have to know who you're going to invest with. You really have to know who they are, their personality, what are their beliefs on just money and business, right? It's not just the deal makes sense. I'm going to make X amount of money and let me go ahead and put my money in there. So if someone is looking to invest, what would you recommend? Would you recommend go out and buy 2-4 unit as your first deal, get your feet wet, or invest with someone like yourself, with a group?
So that's a really good question, and it's really hard to answer because everyone's different. For example, for you actually did very well on your first big multifamily deal in Dallas. So that was fantastic. And there's lots of people like you or like myself that I did a lot of deals on my own, did very, very well. Actually on my own, never made less than a 20% per year return. That was when the market was a lot lower and you could get a lot better deals. But regardless, it depends on the person. If you have the time and you think you can operate a deal very well, you have the capital, you can pull together the money, the loan, and find the deal, then go do it. Because guess what? I'm in this to make money alongside my investors. So any deal I do, my investors are making great money and I'm also making great money. So if you were to do that deal on your own, potentially you could make more money. Now, if you're not going to be a good operator, which a lot of people recognize, I do not have the time. I'm a heart surgeon. I'm a top producing realtor that I spend all my time selling and making a 7-figure income. Then absolutely the answer is invest with someone like, a Grant Cardone or myself, or someone who does this full time, who can get you a great return on your money. And then how do you know who to invest with? That's usually the next question. Well, you have to do a lot of due diligence. We've never lost money. Someone actually, this is a crazy story. Someone here in Utah, we're dealing with one of my clients. They decided to build with a builder and didn't do their due diligence with him. And he has 50 judgments against him, and they're about to sue him. And guess what? He has no money to be had because he's already got 50 judgments against him. So you have to do your due diligence, because really once you invest that cash, there's no getting it back until the principal or myself decides to sell the deal or to return your capital. There's nothing you can do to get your money out. And so, a lot of my investors are close friends like yourself, people who have seen me work, seen me do a lot of deals, and also did a lot of due diligence on me. And I would say that's a really good start. I would talk to past investors. I do a lot of due diligence, a lot more than most people. And that's just how I work. But I would say at least do some due diligence on past deals they've done and talk to some past investors and partners of theirs.
Good. That's great. And for those on this call, I've known Sam for over 10 years. And even when I decided to join, how many times did we talk? How many times did we meet? Right?
Yeah, quite a few. Looking at the deal, looking at our operation. We had already done a few deals and done very well. I think you invested in our 4th or 5th multifamily syndication. So it had been a number of years. And it literally was years of getting to know each other. And if you don't have that luxury, and if you're working with someone new, that's why you have to spend some time And if they won't provide the due diligence, if they won't provide access to past partners and investors, it's a pretty big red flag, and so if you don't have the luxury of knowing someone for years, then you definitely have to dig a little deeper.
And I am part of another group as well. And honestly, I mean, you guys can ask for I asked for their closing statement. Like, I wanted to see, is this legit? I mean, like, hey, listen, if I'm gonna park some money in and give it to someone, all right, and I'm not 100% like convinced, I'll ask for certain things. I mean, maybe they took it a little bit like what? She actually wants to see, the closing statement. Well, yeah, I want to see the closing statement. I want to see, I want to see for myself. All right, is there a deal, right? What are they spending? What's this costing? What are they charging?
Right.
I mean, you have to become familiar. You really have to become familiar. And I think that also for me, it was more of principle that if I asked for something, I wanted to see if they were going to give it to me.
Right.
Because that for me would have been a red flag, that if they're not going to share this information right now, then I'm probably not going to want to invest with them.
Yeah, I
Right?
think a couple of weeks ago you said, "Hey, do you mind sending over the quarterly statements?" And I just typed an email to my head bookkeeper and said, "Get her the quarterly statements." It's pretty simple. If you're not willing to share what you're doing with people's money,
Exactly.
that's a red flag. And so we make our quarterly statements, actually our monthly statements, available. The other big thing that I would say is who is their real estate attorney and who is their syndication attorney. More importantly, the syndication attorney, because they're the ones filing everything with the SEC. We pay the best in the business because we don't like to be in the gray area. Everything's pretty black and white for us. So my syndication attorney is available to all of my investors at any time. So we pay him to have our investors be able to ask him questions about the deal, about the PPM, if he thinks, anything that we're doing is not kosher. He's paid to do that and analyze that for us and keep us out of the gray area.
That's nice. Who's your syndicating attorney?
Mauricio Raould.
Oh yeah, I know Mauricio.
Yeah.
Okay, I met him at Rod Khleif's event.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Oh, okay, very
Yeah.
nice.
Ed Kaminsky and I had him at an event there in LA as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, yes. So I do know Mauricio. Okay, very good. So any questions from anyone on the call? Let's open it up for a little Q&A and then I have some more questions. No questions? Okay, so I'm going to ask another question. I mean, we all know that there can be situations where the deal is not profitable, right? And you don't get any money, right? So how do you make that investor, like, how do you explain to the investor when you pitch a deal, right? You're pitching a deal like, hey, this is going to produce this is what we're going to, this is the plan, this is what we're going to buy it for, this is what it's going to make, this is what we're going to do, everything's going to be great. And then sometimes reality is different, right? We don't get what we think we're going to get.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to set expectations. And if someone is painting a very perfect picture, pitching a deal to you, that's dangerous. And so what we try to do is set expectations up front. And so, hey, in a perfect world, this is how the cash flow is going to look, and it's going to go up, and you'll get your returns. But what I also like to do is say, hey, that may not happen. Things may happen. And so back when we were working on the Cleveland deal that we're just getting ready to finish the refi on, we said, interest rates probably will be going up. We think maybe a point or two. And so here's what your returns will look like if that happens. And we're hoping to get 6 to 8% cash flow on that property once the remodel was done. If rates go up, it'll be 4 to 6. What we never expected is rates to triple. Our debt service on that deal went from $35,000 to over $90,000. And, we had told investors it might be a year until we start cash flowing. Well, and we had a 3-year a 3-year horizon for that remodel. So slow remodel over a course of 3 years and then refi. And that's kind of part of my initial thought on foreclosures and multiple exit strategies. I always try to go through multiple exit strategies with my investors. The first one is we sell at the end of 3 years because we've done a fantastic job raising rents, remodeling. It's worth a whole lot more than what we paid for it. The market stayed very hot and good, and we make a bunch of money. Exit strategy 2 is we do the refinance and we pull cash out. And this might sound familiar because this is what you and I talked about when you invested. And exit strategies 3 is maybe rates go up and cash flow isn't as high, but we're able to refi and we cash flow it for a number of years. We can't pull any cash flow or any cash out at the refi, but we maintain the asset for a number of years and have a great asset. And at the end of the 5 to 7 to 10 years, we sell it for a really great profit. Any 3 of those is acceptable. And if you're not prepared to be in long term, do not invest in this deal. And so personally, it all starts with setting expectations. It's really hard to go back to an investor and say, I promised 8% cash flow. I promised we were going to sell it in 2 to 3 years. And I promised you'd make X returns. And we're not even close to that. That's a really hard conversation to have. And yet there's a lot of fund managers and syndicators that just wanted to raise the money, really wanted to do the deal. So they only talked about option number 1. And they forgot about option 2, which isn't as good, and option 3, which isn't as optimal, but still a really good investment. And so right now for our Fairmount 4, we're looking at an option number 3, which is we're doing a refi we cannot pull money out of because rates are insanely high. And we're going to hold this long term and it's going to make a really great return, but we're going to have to hold it a little bit longer than we had initially wanted to achieve the double digit returns, average yearly returns that we want. And so I'm having that conversation. I had that conversation with you last week and with a lot of our investors. It's a lot more awkward and tough to have that conversation if you didn't set the proper expectations.
And I think for those on this call or anyone watching this, don't invest your money if you're looking to get it back quick. Like
right.
This is not
get rich slow.
Yeah, this is not a flip. And a point, you brought up a really good point that that I was thinking about, and I thought, what, it makes sense. Is like, did you invest for now, or did you invest for your retirement?
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, I invested for my retirement. I mean, I know that I've got a chunk of money parked there, and it's okay, right? Because if that money would have been in my bank account, I'm sure I would have gone out and wasted it on something else that didn't make sense, didn't make financial sense. Mm-hmm. And at least I know it's there, and the appreciation will eventually kick in, because it will. I mean, that's just real estate. If it
already has.
Exactly. And I know that this particular property that I'm involved in is being renovated. So again, I know that income's going to increase there, right? The net operating income of this whole property is going to increase. So it's going to definitely increase whatever amount of money I've invested in there. So,
and by the way, you got a really nice tax write-off the first year, right?
For sure. I mean, yeah. That's the beauty. That, and maybe you don't understand, those that are on this call don't understand the advantage of that tax write-off, but it's a big chunk of money that you can use to offset your income, your taxes, whatever it is that you're producing. So it's money, it's income. And go ahead. I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, per $100,000, when you invest in a multifamily syndication, if there's a cost seg done, you should get about 40,000 back as a loss that first year, 30 to 40. And so you're talking about 30 to 40% of what you've invested back to you as a write-off. That's great. I mean, that's huge. That's much bigger than single family. And so back to your question of, do I buy a duplex or fourplex on my own, or do I do multifamily? Well, the tax write-offs are much bigger in multifamily. It's really hard to justify a cost seg on a duplex. They cost money, but you buy 30 units in New Mexico or 300 units in El Paso, those tax write-offs are huge. And so a lot of my investors also invest for that reason. They want the appreciation, they want the cash flow, but they also really like that passive loss that comes to them that offsets income from this investment or other investments they've made.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So, Sam, what's your why? I'm curious. What's your
Well,
why?
oh, pointing the wrong way. My kids are right there in that picture.
Mhm.
I've done this as a single working dad for a few years now. I work from home dad since 2017. But ever since my daughter, was born in 2013, and she had a lot of health issues, and basically realized I just wanted to be home with my kids, and I wanted to give them an amazing life as well, and have a lot of really great experiences with them. I wanted to be a really great dad that was there for them. I coach all of their sports. I love it. Never coached soccer before in my life, but I coached it, this last year. Never coached baseball yet, ever in my life, and coached it for the first time this year. And so the freedom that investing gives me is my why. And I've got enough investments at this point now where in the next few years, as we start selling, Fairmount 4, Fairmount 1, these El Paso deals, I'll have enough cash flow to live off of. Probably within 5 years. I'm 38. My goal was by 2029 to never have to work again, and be in the position, once they're in junior high and high school, to coach every single sport or do everything they want me to do with them and spend a lot of time with them. You only have your kids for 18 years. And that's been my why. And also to help others invest and make a lot of money investing in real estate. I just really enjoy it. And let's see, we just got a question. Have you invested in a multiplex and used the multiplex for social services such as shelter? We never have. We do work with a lot of Section 8 all over the country. So we do allow that, people that are on government assistance. I've never specialized in those tax credit type properties where there are specific shelters, things like that. Because my investors, I just have a different set of investors. There's a lot of investors that prefer to go that class. And a lot of my investors, just the people we raise money for or with, have not wanted to get into that because there's so much government regulation and much lower returns, unfortunately. So if I can find a way to get my investors good returns and provide housing at a discount, I would love to do that. It's extremely complicated. So we're actually looking at a deal recently in Kansas City that government is fully paid for by the government. The housing is. They are extremely difficult to purchase. And after about 2 weeks of talking to attorneys, talking to people that are experienced with it, we decided, you know what, we're going to let the people that are really good at that keep doing that. For now, it just was simply too complicated on that side of things for us. And also, it's a very, very interesting time in the market. We're actually not currently buying any deals. And so,
That was going to be my
Annabelle,
next question. Like, okay, so where are you at right now?
yeah, I'm being a
Deals.
dad. So right before we started this call, I was setting up the slip and slide for my kids, and spraying them with the hose. And I'm just working to actually, I actually still sell houses here in Utah, still sell commercial properties here in Utah and Boise. I'm building my nest egg, and what I'm waiting for is for a price break or an interest rate break. Right now, it's really hard to make a deal pencil, and you have to be extra conservative because of inflation. And what I'm doing is playing with my kids, having a really great summer. Spent 9 days in Mexico with my girlfriend, spent 2 weeks camping and fishing and boating and rafting with my kids before that. Really just having a good time, setting aside money and not really worrying about buying deals right now. I'm watching a lot of foreclosures happen, and yet pricing has not adjusted. And so as CEO of MFI Club, we were analyzing a lot of deals this year. And I said, you know what, guys, let's just put our foot on the brake.
Mhm.
Nothing is penciling. I don't want to be the guy that buys a deal here when we're doing this.
Right.
And so we'll still look at deals, but I'm loving my life right now, hanging out with my kids, having an amazing summer with them, selling real estate, making a bunch of money, hopefully or trying to anyways, to go ahead and be able to buy when we bottom out or close to the bottom. I don't want to buy up here though. And that's where I think we're at right now. I may be wrong, but if rates continue where they're going, and if inflation does, we're going to have a lot more people than we're currently seeing being foreclosed on, and a lot more banks with multifamily properties to get rid of. And the reason why, and this is really important to know for you guys to understand, multifamily investors in 2020, 2021, 2022 were kind of like flippers. They were buying a property, not doing a whole lot, kind of lipstick on a pig, selling it a year later for a huge profit because the market went insane. All the investors in commercial and residential got killed in COVID because of the shutdown. And guess what? Multifamily operators did fantastic. And the multifamily space got insanely hot, which was terrible for us. It was a huge bummer. I was hoping it wouldn't get that hot. So you have all these investors with kind of a flip mentality, and they got variable rate loans, and those are starting to come due. And that's why you're seeing these foreclosures. That's why this guy, I'm looking at my screen, lost these 3,200 doors in Houston.
Can you share that like on the screen?
Yeah.
Let's
Let me share my screen.
That's good to. I
You
can.
guys see that okay?
Yes.
Houston apartment owner loses 3,200 units. Foreclosure multifamily feels the heat. So this guy is just like a lot of other people who had a variable rate loan, and all of a sudden he just couldn't pay the bills.
Wow.
Foreclosures in Seattle on construction deals. And so we're also seeing the market be very, very difficult to get financing.
That for sure. Difficult for financing.
Really hard. I do have a deal open right now in Ogden, Utah, a very small deal. We only have about 600,000 left in that deal. And it's been 6 months of kind of going back and forth with different lenders, deciding who's going to refi this deal with us. We're in a great position. We're not.
What kind of deal is it?
So we bought it. Really funny story. We had a friend of ours win the lottery.
Nice.
she
Like
said, "Hey,
they win a lot of money, or
I think it was a $5 million lottery, scratch off ticket in Florida." She said, "Hey,
wow.
Sam, love what you do. We're very close with her kids actually." And she said, "Here's $1 million. I need a tax write-off before the end of the year, and I want a good investment." So we bought this deal with her, and we made some room for other investors in that deal. And it's 29 units, very similar to the Cleveland deals, really 1930s build, next to downtown, amazing location, really cute. We completely gutted it, and we're turning the 29 units into 22 larger units. The city's ecstatic. There's a massive housing shortage in the area. And next door, we have a 1/4 acre that came with the deal that we'll build another 50 units on. That'll be phase 2. And the city actually, it was hilarious. We go into the city to start working on the permit to tear apart the inside of this unit. And the city said, "Hey, yeah, that sounds great. We'd love for you to remodel this building. By the way, can you build us some more units? We'd love some new units because we have a housing shortage." And I said, "As a matter of fact, that's phase 2 of this project. We'd love to."
Nice.
And there's a 330 unit luxury apartment project going in a block and a half away. And so we never like to be luxury. We'll be the middle of the line units or rentals there in the area. So we're really excited about it. It's a really small deal for us. Interesting fact though, our small deals have been about 5% per year more profitable. And the reason is there are more buyers. There's more buyers for a $3, $4, $5 million property than there is our El Paso $30 million property. And so I had said, I'm going to go back on my word. I had said, Annabelle, that I'm never doing a deal less than 150 units ever again, because I make more money for my time committed, and they're easier. They're easier to do. I'd rather raise $10 million than $2 million every day of the week, because those deals are easier to do. And it's the same amount of work for way more money and way better returns for my investors, is what I thought. After selling these last 2 deals, the 18 unit and the 30 unit, I'm realizing that my investors are making about 4 to 5% more per year on these smaller deals. So we'll probably continue doing these smaller deals for the foreseeable future.
That's good. And what, so this land, second phase, what are you thinking what are you looking to raise for that?
I'm hoping that we can collateralize the remodeled building and not have to raise any money for it,
Okay.
and give all of the returns to my investors originally in the deal. It may be that we can do a combination of, use the collateralize the remodeled building, and then we may have to raise $400,000 or $500,000 to get that construction loan. At which point those first investors would have first shot at it, and then people who have already invested with MFI in the past, like you, would have the next shot at it.
Very nice. Well,
so yeah, we're excited. It's going to be pushing 20% per year returns as well, and just a really lucky situation, and of course the friend winning the lottery, that was really fun and exciting for them, and exciting to know someone that came into some cash, and they're being really smart with it, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Well, I don't know if you follow the news here in LA, but someone just won like $500 billion.
Yeah, the IRS did, right?
Yeah, they're gonna
they got like 2/3 of the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I always think, God, I wonder what they're gonna do with that money. Are they gonna go crazy, blow it? Because money is it's just it's so fast to lose. It's so fast to lose. It's so hard to, like multiply.
Gain. Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder, what's he gonna do with all that money?
Good question. Someone should find him and ask.
I know.
I'll give you a nice referral fee.
I was trying to, it's not far from me, but it's like, how do I go out there and tell the guy, listen, invest your
Buy
money,
multifamily.
buy multifamily, don't blow it on, God knows what. They're gonna go buy toys and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, a good example is you and I both know David Arustamian.
yeah,
He's younger than me, and he's pretty much at the point where he doesn't have to work anymore, because he's made a lot of money in the last 15 years, but also invested a huge percentage of what he makes. And so that's a really good example of not blowing your money.
I think that's the key. I think, to be in a position where you have money to invest in something like multifamily, because really this call is about multifamily, right? Having the money to invest in multifamily, you have to, obviously you're working hard, you're producing, you're using your money wisely. I can tell you from just my own personal experience, multifamily was something that I wanted to get myself into. I wanted to learn, and I think I got the best lesson ever. I can tell you that I've been through an entire cycle of multifamily, right? Where I went out there, it took me, I think, 5 years to actually buy my first multifamily deal. It was figuring out, okay, I'm doing a couple flips here and there, putting money aside, and then figuring out where I was going to invest. Then, doing my due diligence in that market, trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to invest? And then learning the market, understanding the market. And I wanted to, I kind of wanted it hands-on. I wanted to do this with my husband, and we did, and we learned a lot. And now I understand that if you do want to grow, you can't do it alone. I mean, yes, there's a couple deals that you might be able to get yourself into, but you can also invest with others that you know and you trust, and your money will grow. So I know whatever money I have invested, in the back of my head, I know that at least my money will double. It'll be there, and I'm not going to touch it because I don't want it. I don't want it now. This is for my retirement. I want to have a peaceful, I want to enjoy my retirement. I don't want to be stressed. And I think that's the purpose of this call, is to get more people to do this, to figure a way. I mean, you guys are all working really hard. Well, figure a way to either go out and invest on your own, or join a group, join me, join Sam. I mean, anyone on this call, and I know a few of you here on this call, if you guys want to invest, call me. I mean, I can always set a private call with Sam and we can talk, because I know I'm not looking at anything out there right now, I mean, I'm also very skeptical. I don't think it's the time to buy. I think unless it's like an incredible opportunity,
Like the
right?
Ogden deal. Did I tell you how we bought that deal?
No.
A flipper bought it, thought he could flip it, ran it into the ground. And it was literally, we closed on it right after Christmas. It was a great Christmas present for us. But we bought it less than what he paid for it. And because he literally ran it into the ground. So the caveat I would say is there's always people that are terrible operators that
Yeah.
create opportunity for us. But we're being very skeptical as well. There's a couple of questions, Annabelle. I think
Oh yeah, let's
one
answer.
person asked how much, are we putting down, or would you put down on a property? It really just depends on the property and the numbers in the bank. Right now banks are requiring about 40% down. And so is cash flow. If you're going to cash flow a property, you're probably going to have to put 40, 45, 50% down because prices are still high and interest rates are really high.
I
And then the
think her
next,
question, hold on, Tim. I think her
Mhm.
question is like, how much, Maribel, are you asking like, how much money do you have to put to be part of a group?
like the minimum investment.
Investment? Is that what you're
Ours
asking?
ours is 25,000.
Okay,
If I like you, then it's high, or if I don't like you, then the minimum is higher.
so about 25,000, Maribel.
Yeah.
And
And then
it's
as a
just
first,
money, you know what? And it's just money that you're gonna invest and just forget about it. Know that you're investing with a, a professional, someone who is really protecting your interest as well. And just know that that's going to double, right? Like, at least that's my thing. It's going to double in the next 5 years, 6 years, who knows? I mean, whatever the plans are, and based on what it really depends on the property, but it's
yeah.
a long time.
Well, you said it right. Our Albuquerque deal, our investors' money, I think they hit about a 21% per year return. So that's in a little bit less than 5 years, their money doubled. For Cleveland, it's going to be like 6 years, 6.5 years. That's still 15 to 17% per year returns. And so one of your first questions was, should they do this on their own or should they invest with us?
Right.
Well, can you get, and that's without tax write-offs. So can you get the tax write-offs that we can get you? And can you do better than 15 to 17% per year between appreciation and cash flow? If not, then that's your answer.
Right.
If so, I know I can go out and do my own deals and hit 20% per year, but I also get first look at all these deals, and I've been doing this a really long time. And then also again, back to the question, should you do this on your own or should you invest with someone like us? I don't know. I know the heart surgeon, the funny story really quick. Our heart surgeon had, I think, 6 rental properties he bought from me, and they were all vacant. And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot to hire a property manager to get those leased. And I just blew my mind, pulling my hair out, like, oh my gosh, but found you these amazing deals. He's so busy and things like that happen pretty often. And so to keep these properties profitable, it is a lot of time and it's a lot of detail. And I have a CFO and a bookkeeper that looks at everything, and I fly out, and almost every month we're flying out to check on these properties. So if you're not going to do that, then I would say, invest with a syndicator or a fund manager.
I agree. And some people just don't have the experience, right, to do all of that. And when you don't have the experience to do all of that, I mean, that's when problems begin, and you really start losing money. And I can tell you firsthand, it's not easy. I mean, you have to I had an on-site team at my complex. I had a manager and I had a handyman, and you have to constantly, I mean, this was like a daily, weekly call. I mean, you can't just sit back and relax. I mean, you're either going to, let me get my dog out. You're either going to like go all in and do it, or you play it safe, you invest with someone else, another group who's doing it, and let them run with it and just go out, work, make more money so that you can invest. Give me a second. I gotta let my dog
No
out.
problem.
But go ahead and answer some of those questions there.
Yeah. So one of the questions was, what areas should we look into and about how much money should we invest? That's up to you. I like landlord friendly states and counties or cities. So we only invest in those areas. It's really hard to make money as an investor if a judge tells a renter they don't have to pay rent. And so we avoid those areas that are not landlord friendly. We also look at taxes. We also look at jobs and job growth. So I would say if you're in California, it's probably outside of California because of really just taxes and landlord laws. We love Texas. We love Florida. And we've done very well there. We have about 500 doors in Cleveland. You can do really well in Cleveland. You can do really bad. We're next to the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland. That's the only reason we're there, because it's a very different demographic, and the cash flow is good. The appreciation with the growth of the #2 hospital in the world, adding neurological center, adding millions of square feet to their campus. We can't lose. Hospitals like that don't go out of business. They only grow. And so we're really excited about, in 4 or 5 years when we sell those properties for a large gain. And so I'd be really careful, maybe tell you what to avoid. I'd be really careful about small markets and non-landlord friendly markets and markets that are hard to get to, that are small. If you have to drive an hour or two after you fly in, that's a red flag. Small markets are hard to find good help in. So I'd stick to the bigger markets that are landlord friendly. And how much money to invest? As much as you can.
What's the minimum? What's the minimum?
25,000. I mean, and on a personal note, I've always invested 30% of my income. So I've made myself poor by investing. And my thought process is I'll live without a lot of the vacations and the nice cars. And I'd love to be in a nicer, bigger house. We're bursting at the seams here, but I invest first and then live off the rest.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm bursting out of the seams as well. I mean, look, I could have a lot of other stuff, but I want to have a good retirement. I want to, I don't want to have to do this,
You don't want to be forced to work till you're 80.
There you go. I don't want to be forced to work. I want to work because I want to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just a different mindset. And once you're busy all your life, I don't think you can stop being busy. But you know what? You're busy and productive in another way. So I agree with you. I agree 100%.
Yeah. A couple other questions are, where are we finding the deals? We don't go to the courthouse or really knock doors. We work with brokers. We have really good relationships with brokers. Almost every deal we've purchased has been directly from a broker. They have, commercial brokers have really good relationships with their sellers. We have not gone direct to any seller ever. Not that I wouldn't want to, but because usually those brokers control the sales, and that's where we get those. That's kind of the name of the game in commercial, large multifamily. And then as far as insurance companies affecting us, yeah, I mean, Florida, we were not affected by the hurricane, yet our insurance went up by a huge amount. Texas insurance has been going up a ton. Cleveland insurance company has been kind of not working with us very well. So yeah, insurance has been a huge issue the last few years.
So when you're saying, it's been a big issue as far as pricing going up, is that what you mean?
Pricing going up, insurance companies not
like
wanting to
here
pay.
In California, they're not writing. I mean, again, for residential, or they're one of the companies, maybe someone on this call knows, but I don't know if it's State Farm or large company, they're no longer writing any new policies here in the state of California.
Oh, and there's companies that completely pulled out of Florida after the hurricane.
What is it?
Allstate and State Farm, they both pulled out of California. They don't want to write because of the fires.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Now I believe the state of California is offering their own fire insurance, but yeah, I mean, that's
the FAIR plan where you pay 3 times the amount and get a negative amount of coverage.
I have no idea, just what I've heard. Again, that's why we're not in California. It's tough to make money on deals in California, unfortunately.
I live in California.
I love visiting though.
Invest. Of course, I live in California, but I don't invest in California. I'd give me Texas, give me Florida, just away from California.
Yeah.
You can't make money in California.
Footnote, the interest rate went up a quarter point today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not stopping. And you know, that's why our Cleveland property, we were supposed to refi at the mid to end of next year. So our 3-year mark would have been October of next year. That was the business plan. And I don't know if you remember that, Annabelle.
Yeah.
We were going to do a slow remodel. And so our cash flow took a massive hit last year because we vacated over 50% of the property. As we saw rates go up, we said, holy crap, this is not good. This is going to really affect a lot of people and affect our ability to refi. And so we actually sped the entire remodel process up by 18 months, moved heaven and earth as far as the crews go, hired, I mean, it was just crazy, but we'll close next week on this loan. And it's been interesting. The bank has not wanted to close. They've been delaying and delaying and delaying and did not want to rate lock and wanted they retraded us actually. So interesting fact, Annabelle, you'll get an email later today. The bank said, hey, here's the refi. This is about a month ago or a little bit less. They said, here's your refi and you'll be able to pull this much out on top of the refi to distribute to your investors. And they switched it and they said, oh, actually, no, we're going to change the terms and the proceeds is what they called it. And just there's no money to pull out at this point because rates are going up. There's no money to pull out. And it's really frustrating. We planned for that. It was one of our 3 scenarios. It was our third option. It's not our favorite option by any means. But things change, plans change. It doesn't mean it's not a good investment anymore. It's really frustrating. It would have been great. I was hoping the market would continue hot for another year for my deals that I was refining and planning on having them appreciate and go up in value and give a bunch of money back to investors. But, you know, that's also why you diversify, Annabelle. That's the last thing I'd probably want to end on is Terrace Hill. You're in Terrace Hill, correct? In El Paso. We are getting ready to, we're going to actually watch your email, Annabelle. We're going to have a meeting to vote on whether we should return $1.3 million to investors or leave it in the deal. Because what happened is we had a rate cap that we had purchased for that deal. It's a $27 million purchase price. We purchased a rate cap in case rates went up. We just completed a refi, so we no longer need the rate cap. And we sold it for $1.3 million because they wanted to stop covering our the difference on the interest. And so that's cash we did not plan on having for our investors. It's really fun and exciting. And I'm guessing everyone's going to vote to have that money given to them. And I don't know there's anybody that's going to want to keep it in the deal. But we technically have to have a vote. So it's really fun. Very different, very, very different scenario. F4, you're in, Annabelle. It's been rough. It's been a pain in the butt. It's still a good investment. We're still going to make good money. Just right now, it's not fun. Whereas in El Paso, I get to tell you, hey, we've got an extra 1.3 million bucks that we're going to give you guys. Congratulations. That's why you diversify, and that's why you spread your investments out across different states, locations, and different deals.
right. That's good. I was going to ask you something. I totally forgot, but anyway, I think we're coming. Oh, let's see. One more question here is, what's your opinion about investing in Vegas?
I mean, I don't know. Probably scared a lot of people during the COVID shutdown. That's a lot of discretionary income that just goes away during a recession. They got crushed. 1 out of 4 houses foreclosed on in the last recession. However, do I believe that Vegas will ever not recover? Is Vegas ever going to stop being Vegas? I don't think so. I think it's always going to keep growing. They never stop building hotels there.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably a pretty good place to invest. We look there. We've just never bought there.
I think you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan in Vegas, because I will tell you, I invested in Vegas back in, I don't know, 2000. I don't remember when, but I lost, never recovered. I held that property for 10, 15 years and I never recovered. But when you have a plan, because I just bought a property in Vegas about less than a year ago, 6 months ago, but I had a specific niche plan and it's working fine. So you have to have, I think, and just keep in mind that when property values come down, Vegas is the first first state.
It's
for property
discretionary
value.
income.
Exactly. You know what? Property values will come down. I mean,
Phoenix, Florida, and Vegas, they suffer. They always come back because they're great places to live, and people eventually, keep spending money to go there. But yeah, those three markets really suffered in the last recession, and you got to study what happened. And so here's the thing: buy in Vegas or Florida or Phoenix, but look at what happened in the last recession, and then if your deal can withstand some type of slowdown like that, then you're good. And that's what we always do.
And that's really, I think that's a great way to end our call is just, just be prepared. Don't buy because you want to buy and the deal really at the end of the day doesn't make sense. Just wait. I mean, there's always going to be an opportunity. I've learned that in real estate. Like, I've done many flips, and it's like there's always this, oh my God, I gotta get it because you want to get it, and then you may lose on it because it wasn't the right deal. So
be patient.
Anyway, you know what? Just you have to be patient, and you have to be smart about it and have plans. So Sam, thank you so much for joining our call today. I really appreciate you spending time with us instead of your kids. I know I'm sure you'd have more fun with your kids, but really, thank you. I think this was very helpful, and hopefully he inspired some of you on this call, and you guys, you know what? Try it, go out there and do it and make a difference. I promise that it is a beautiful thing when you get yourself into multifamily. It makes a huge difference. But anyway, thank you guys. I am here for anyone. You guys have my email, you have my number. If anyone wants to get in contact with Sam, why don't you put your contact info on the chat?
Yeah.
And if there are no other questions, I'll open it up again to any last minute questions. All right.
Do my email in there. Thanks, Annabelle. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining everything. And thank you. Keep me posted. I want good deals. Good deals. All righty.
See ya.
Talk to you later. Take care. Bye, everyone.